Welcome back to another Talk It Out. It's going to be pretty crazy this time around. So this episode, let's just get right into it. This episode is about my love-hate relationship with grinding. It's something I'm growing to love, but still I have a deep resentment for. Because I never really had to grind for anything as a kid. A lot of stuff came to me naturally, and because of that, I never really developed a work ethic. I was always something that I like to call 85% good at things. I would be better than average, and I'd be pretty good at stuff like, video games like Rock Band, N++, school, sports, shit like that. Wake up! A lot of stuff came in, music, a lot of stuff came easily to me, but then when it was time to take it to the next level and put in that next step, and really grind out that last 15%, I never did, and I never wanted to, and my whole mentality was just kind of fuck it, fuck it. And I did that with a lot of things. I did it with school, I did it with relationships, I did it with pretty much every major thing in my life that I've given up was sort of fuck it, The only thing that wasn't really was this channel, where I created it as an outlet to talk things out, and when I felt like I had talked everything out and was starting to move on in a good direction, the channel kind of no longer became necessary. It no longer held as much purpose as it once did. And I think that's just kind of the nature of the channel. And it might do that in the future, but I'm trying to keep it fresh and bring new topics all the time. They're not all going to be about myself, but I'm the only thing I spend a lot of time in my own head, so it's the only thing that I have any authority on is just myself. So if you guys want me to talk about anything, holler at me. If you want to be on the show and talking with me about stuff, that would be cool too. I'm open to that. But anyway, so grinding. Rocket League and streaming actually are the first two things I've had to grind. If you've watched my stream, you've heard me talk about this story a lot, but I'm going to tell it here. Streaming started for me in 2016. I started in April 2016, and it started as an exercise in self-discipline. I was getting to the point where I was realizing this about myself, this whole 85% good thing. I'd never really put any work into anything, and I wanted to change that because I saw that pretty much no matter what, you have to put work into shit. You're not just success isn't just going to fall into your lap just because you're naturally good at something, unless you're naturally God at something, in which case you'll probably be alright. Listen, man, fuck off. Yeah, that's right, you get out of here. See ya, nerd. Oh. Stay down. I want to wait to, hit him again, but that's going to be a no for me, dog. So, grinding. My antithesis and becoming one of my favorite things. So, I was realizing this about myself, and I wanted to make a change because everybody I looked up to, everybody who inspired me, like musicians, athletes, my dad, my mom, they always had to put work in for shit. It was never, my dad's worked 100-hour weeks. My mom raised us, she was a single mom, raised us by herself pretty much because we only saw my dad once every couple weeks. So both these people had to work so hard to get to where they are in life. And there I was, and my grandpa is a crazy inspiration to me. He was in school till he was 34. He was quarterback of his university's football team. He was Western Mustang. Look it up. It's University of Ontario. My man's did everything. He was on 4 sports teams, swam competitively, did his PhD in neuroscience, shit like that. And then there's me who can't fucking get out of bed in the morning because I don't want to work. You know what I mean? It was just kind of one of those moments where I was no, I'm so tired of being pathetic, basically. I saw myself as pathetic. And whether or not that's healthy remains to be seen. What is happening? What are these textures? Who did this to you? Who hurt you? But yeah. So I got to a point where I was fuck it, I got to do something. So I was streaming. I like video games. Streaming's always interested me as a platform. I think it's really cool. I wasn't even thinking of making money on it. I was just I like video games. I think streaming's neat. So let's give it a whirl. Let's try this. And so I set a schedule. It was Monday, Wednesday from 7 to 9, I think. I don't remember the exact, but it was 2 hours, Monday and Wednesday. And I remember there was one day in particular, a few weeks in, because, you know, when you start a new project, the novelty, like, carries you through, and you're like, hell yeah, and then you get to that point, which is where I call, like, 85% good, where you're like, ah, fuck it, dude, like, whatever, I'll just take a day off, and then that day turns into a week, and then that week turns into a month, and then you're like, ah, fuck, like, who cares, I'm just, whatever, it's too late now, I don't have momentum, blah, 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 and you come up with all these excuses, or at least I do. So I just eventually was like, I have to force myself to do this. And so I stuck with it. And there were, yeah, I took some days off when I shouldn't have, for sure. But I remember there was a day where, you know, I was like, fuck, I don't want to stream. And I started like doing that thing with myself where I make excuses. And I'm like, oh, but like I'm tired and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And maybe I'll just stream tomorrow night to make up for it. And, you know, I wanted to see my girlfriend at the time. And I was like, no, something inside me just for the first time, it was just like, no, stream, do it. You won't, bitch. So I did. And it was miserable for like the first 30 minutes. And then it was really good. I think I got like a new number of followers. I averaged like 4 viewers, which was a huge deal for me at the time because I had nobody watching me and I was garbage at Rocket League comparatively to what I am. And so it's a big deal for me. And I would have missed that if I hadn't streamed. In fact, I keep getting reminders of this because this is going to be a battle I'm fighting for my entire life. But because of just the way I grew up in my formative years and how I didn't take advantage of what I had. But I always get those days where I'm like, fuck, I just don't want to do anything. Like, I'll just sit in my room and jerk off all day or whatever. But you know, the night Justin hosted me, I almost canceled the stream. I almost was like, ugh, I just don't really feel it tonight. And it just goes to show you, like, I was that decision away from losing 272 followers. I was that decision away. Like, it just goes, like, you gotta work hard, you gotta get lucky. Now, in contrast, I almost canceled the stream last night, Wednesday the 14th, which is my rage day, which I talked about in my last episode. I almost canceled that stream. And maybe I should have. But I'm trying to take it as a learning process, right? Like, I fucked up. I was really ashamed of how I acted, even though I'm just trying to hold myself to a higher standard. I'm not, me being ashamed has nothing to do with anybody else other than me.
I can always count on you, can't I?
Fuck yeah, you can. Fine bitch tits. Let me just fast travel to wherever I need to be. Oh my god, what do heck? Oh, I can just... Alright. So, maybe I should have canceled last night's stream, and you'll never, but the thing is, you'll never know that until you're at the point where it doesn't matter.
Do you know anything about... Seems no... I'm with the Vigil of Stendarr.
It's crazy.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, no problem, man. And the thing about it is, you'll never know if canceling, like, so for example, I would have never known last night or the night that Justin hosted me. I would have never known if those nights were good to cancel stream. You know? I would never have known until it's too late and it doesn't matter. So after my stream with Justin was over, I was like, thank God I didn't cancel it. And after last night was over, I was like, fuck, I should have canceled it. But the point is, you still have to do it because you'll never know otherwise. And that's super important, just doing it. And I talked about this in one of my earlier episodes, but grinding is very much... grinding is very much a Sisyphean task for me. And for those who don't know, Sisyphus was a figure in Greek mythology. I'm not sure to what extent, but if something says something is Sisyphean, what it means is it's a task where you put in endless labor and get no reward out of it. So Sisyphus's punishment for doing some shit, I don't know, maybe bang Zeus's, one of Zeus's 80 wives or something. I should be sneaking. I don't know what he did, but his punishment...
I'm Igmund's uncle.
One sec.
Well, what is it you want?
Stalling tactic.
So, I can't... But I've seen... My first and only loyalty is... Huh. What... Oh no, I won't. I don't think so. How do I know you won't continue to... Oh no, I won't. They're taking... It'll be a fairly... Now, let's pretend we never had this discussion.
Cool.
I need to ask you to stop. Good. Glad we straightened that out.
Yeah, yeah, I'm leaving. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Ah! Fuck, what was I talking about? Yeah, so Sisyphus. His punishment was he was in like the pits of eternity or whatever the fuck they call it. And he had to roll a boulder up a hill, and every time he got to the top of the hill, it would roll down the other side. And so he just had to get back. He had to get back up to the top, to the bottom of the hill, grab that goddamn boulder, and roll it back up to the top. And every single time, it would roll back to the bottom of the hill. And to me, that's what grinding is. So that's part of why I hate it. Because I got to, just to bring this down to a more literal level, I got to Grand Champion in ones, which is the highest rank in Rocket League for those who don't know. It was a huge accomplishment for me because it was my weakest category and I put in a ton of work, and my mechanics are always weak in every game. So it was finally one of those things where I was like, fuck yeah, like I put in a bunch of work. I put in way more work than I usually do.
It just so happens
Okay,
I've
cool.
got some scouts along the road.
Wait, what? Oh, I'm just gonna go meet them there. So making GC in ones was a huge accomplishment for me. I was very proud of it. It was one of those moments where, you know, your heart's just like, yes, we did it. Finally, like all the hard work I put in, I finally worked for something and I got it. And I can say that I'm among the best. Like even right now, like I'm not back to Grand Champ this season, which is a problem I'll get to in a moment. But even right now, I'm top 500, top 400, I think, in ones, which is incredible to me. Like according to TRN, which is not 100% accurate, but you know, it's the best we have, so I'll take it. I'm top 0.1% at any rate. And that's a huge deal to me. Like, I put in a lot of work and my efforts being, you know, rewarded with results. And that's amazing. But the problem is, then I have nights like last night where I feel like it's almost like I assume that I'm just owed Grand Champion now. You know? What are you doing? You friggin' ant. Hey, listen. You're mad. Oh, good enough. It's almost like I assume it. It's like my ego gets too big and I'm like, I'm a Grand Champ level, and I said this multiple times last night. I'm a Grand Champ level player, like why am I losing? But I don't bother answering that question. So how I tie that into Sisyphus is, you know, you get all that skill, you know, all the stuff you feel like you've worked for, and then all of a sudden it just feels like it was just taken away. I felt last night like I was like a third rate, you know, didn't belong in Champion 1's player. I was making like terrible decision making. My mechanics were off. I was, you know, I wasn't ball striking well. Every decision I made was bad. Just all that shit. You know? So that's the hate part I hate about it, is the fact that some days you just feel like you can't improve. And I was just talking to one of my subs in Discord about this. He knows who he is if he's watching this video. But he was saying, you know, he's been stuck at a level in Rocket League for so long, and, you know, for 2 straight seasons, which is, you know, the better part of 2/3 of a year. And he was just feeling, you know, like what's the point? Like, what am I doing wrong? I can't figure out what I'm doing wrong. And I couldn't tell him because I don't know. I don't know what he's doing wrong, but I know the feeling that he's going through. And, you know, you just have to keep telling yourself that it gets better. That guy's mad. This guy? Pissed. So mad. Look at this nerd. What are you doing, man? Just stop that. Alright. Just stop that. So the reason I like grinding is because I'm growing to love the results. I'm growing to love, you know, being able to say that I put all this effort in and I got something for it. I'm liking, at least now, maybe it's a novelty thing because I haven't ever had to do it much before, but I'm liking the fact that I can sit in front of my computer and play Rocket League for like 8 hours and just go for it and get it, you know? And it's good shit. I'm liking that a lot.
Quite a team, eh?
Are you good, Raylan?
I'll stay here and guard
You get back to camp with the news. Got it.
back to camp with news. Have them send some men with a new wagon.
By the 9, I hate
One
the
isn't
waiting.
going anywhere.
Goddamned waiting.
Maybe you should unlock your bow, you freaking nerd. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this week. For this episode, rather, of Talk It Out. Hope you guys enjoyed. I know it's a little bit, I kind of bounce all over the place, and it's I'm new at this. I'm still learning, so bear with me. Again, as always, if you have comments, questions, any topics you want broached, just let me know in the comments or come by my live stream, which we'll put in the description.
You're going to meet the
I'll just trigger this mission and we'll call it.
good.
I bet we
You
have
got real fire.
Save it here. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. I hope this helps you. I hope it helps me, to be honest. But anyway, we'll see you next time. I'm sure I'll have dreamed up something. I'm going to try and branch the topics out more to stuff that is more of my interests rather than like my own introspective narrative. But yeah, talk to you guys later.